Hello and welcome back to Camp Legend. I am so excited about our story today. Today we read Dragons Love Tacos, and I think this is just such a silly story. I love how it's all about what the dragons can and can't eat. And I have to say, I was really inspired by this story today for our STEAM activity. I'm going to kind of flip to the page here. Give me a second. And it was this page at the end where they were saying it was too late after the dragons had already had the spicy salsa. So, if you look at the page, what do you notice about what's going on there? What really sticks out to you? I wonder if it's the same thing that really stuck out to me, because I felt it was kind of hard to miss, was all the fire. And so that made me start thinking about fire, dragons, maybe hot lava. And so what my challenge for you today is going to be to make your own little science experiment. And you can kind of do this in a couple of different ways. You guys know I love giving you choices, in that you can kind of make your own lava lamp, or do a science experiment where you make your own kind of lava or something like lava. Obviously not hot lava. I don't want you touching hot things. But something that really shows that fire that was kind of shown in the story there with that spiciness. So before we get started, just keep that in your mind as you're thinking about it. Grab something to write with. We are going to be using our engineering design process for this, just to get our brains going. I know I got really excited about this, and then I was like, what should I do? I don't know. So I know that I kind of need to go through that process myself to really start thinking about what I could do. So let's go ahead and get started with our ask part, and really start asking ourselves questions about what it is that we might want to do. Do we want to figure out how to make our own lava lamp? Do we want to make something that represents fire, lava, something like that? So just start asking yourself questions about maybe what you want to do, what you might need, and we'll go from there. All right, let's bring our asking to a pause here for a minute. One thing I would like to point out, and it came to me as I was asking my own questions, is that I really do want you guys to be careful when doing this, as is with any science experiments, whether you do them at home or at school. Please don't play with fire. We're building something that represents fire or represents lava kind of thing. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this. I know, like, when I say fire, I instantly go to maybe like lighting a candle. But we need to be careful with everything that we're doing. Make sure adults are involved if you need to. So I just want to put that out there. I really want you guys to be safe and careful while you're doing this. So I know I started asking myself some good questions as I was going through this. And now I really want to start imagining what I might be able to do. So if you could take a few minutes and also start doing some imagining yourself. Think about this brainstorming of what you might be able to do based on the questions that you asked yourself. All right, go ahead. All right, let's bring our imagining to a pause here. I know that this really got my mind thinking about what I might be able to do, how I can start to bring my idea together. As I move into my planning stage, I know that I might need to do a little research, and I'm just thinking about this now as I'm going through from my imagining phase. To really make my plan for what I want to do, I need to figure out exactly what resources will make this happen for my idea. I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. I'm leaning towards the lava lamp, so we'll see how this goes. So I need to figure out how I'm going to actually make this happen. So start doing your planning. If you need to do research, if you already didn't do that during your imagining phase, that's totally fine. Remember, this engineering design process is we call it sometimes fluid, very flexible. You can kind of jump around to different spots. Remember, we said it's very messy. Doesn't always mean you're going to go right in order. So start coming up with your plan. See how you're going to actually make this come to your next phase, the creation phase. All right, go ahead and start planning. All right, let's bring our planning to a pause. I know that after looking at some ideas here, I am like ready to jump in and try this out. I think I have most things on hand. I'm going to see what I can do. I didn't run up and check my supplies here, but I know I have a plan for what I want to do, and once I actually go to grab my supplies, I might kind of change my plan a little bit, but I'm ready to start creating. So go ahead and start creating yourself, and we'll check back here in a little bit and see how your experiment went. Have fun! The great thing about this, from what I read online, is that your measurements don't need to be accurate. So you don't need to have a certain amount of water or a certain amount of oil. So I am going to add about half to a 3/4 cup of oil in each of the cups here. And I'm doing 4 different colors just to see what they look like. They should all do the same thing, I'm guessing, but they might just look different as their own little personal lava lamps. Now that I've added the oil, I'm going to add a little bit of water to each one, and hopefully I won't spill this. And I'm spilling. That's all right. And I'm leaving room up at the top, so just in case it overflows a little bit, it won't make that huge of a mess. Okay, so you can already see how when I added the water to the oil, you can see that the water settled down to the bottom on each of those, and it looks kind of bubbly. And that the viscosity of the oil is different than the water, so that's why it separates. So let's go ahead and add some food coloring to each one. This one I'm going to do red. And I really don't know how many to add, so we'll just go with that and see if that works. We can always add more after we get started. And here's green, which is my favorite color, so I'm curious to see how that one will turn out. And yellow. And already you can see that the food coloring is kind of beading and going to the bottom of the oil. So that kind of tells me that the food coloring might be water-based, because that's sinking to the bottom as much as similar to what the water did. All right, so now we have our red, green, yellow, and blue food coloring mixes with our oil and water. And it looks kind of bubbly now, but when we add the Alka-Seltzer tab, we should start to see what looks like a little lava lamp. So let's drop them in and see what happens. You'll notice as the Alka-Seltzer tab is starting to really dissolve into the oil and water mixture that you're seeing more and more bubbles that show up. In the green one, you can tell really well kind of where that tab is sitting at the bottom and how it's forcing that water and food coloring mixture up through the oil. And as the tab starts to get to where it's fully dissolved, it kind of comes up to the top of the little lava lamp, but you'll still see that the bubbles are coming from the bottom up to the top, even though that tab is not sitting down at the bottom. So it looks like, for the most part, that those Alka-Seltzer tabs have dissolved into the mixture. And even though they're gone, or there's just a little bit floating at the top, those bubbles are still rising from the bottom of the cups, so it still has that lava lamp appearance.
Okay, so now we're going to try the same experiment, but the only thing that has changed is that I've turned off the lights and I've added a black light that's down below so that that black light is shooting up towards the cups with nothing in them right now. So let's go ahead and add our oil, just like we did before. And I'm going to use about the same amounts. Okay, before I had used regular tap water. This time I'm going to use the tonic water. And when I put the tonic water in front of the black light, and this is just the regular bottle that I had shown earlier, that glows. So I'm curious what this will look like when I add it to my mixture. Already you can see it's fizzing a little bit because the tonic water is carbonated. Now let's add our food coloring. And I'm really curious with this if we'll be able to see a difference in the colors under the black light. And I'm doing these in the same order of the colors that I had before. So we had our red, our green, our yellow, and our blue. So you can see still, just like before, that the food coloring has dropped down to the bottom. And now I'm ready to add in my Alka-Seltzer tabs. It is definitely a lot fizzier. I'm guessing because of the carbonation of the tonic water. So I have to say this is not as exciting as I had thought it was going to be. Let's turn on the lights. So you can see what it looks like in the light, and I'll turn off the black light as well. And you can see the red really fizzed up a lot, and you can really see the difference between the oil and the water. The green, actually on all of them, you can really see that difference. The red maybe is a little bit more cloudy, and those tabs have just about dissolved. But it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. It's kind of a bummer, but it was still cool to see it, and especially with the tonic water and how that glows.
All right, welcome back. I know that was super cool. I've never done that before, and I'm so glad I tested it with different colors, different kinds of waters between the regular tap water and the tonic water. Obviously, I love a good theme. I love a good glow-in-the-dark kind of stuff. So that was just really interesting how that came to be, and I'm so glad that I had some tonic water where I could try that. So I feel like my improving kind of went hand in hand with my testing. As I was testing, I was improving how things would work, trying different things to see if it would make a difference and make the lava lamp look a little bit better, maybe change how it moved the bubbles from the bottom to the top. So I feel like my testing and my improving are always just so intertwined. It's kind of hard to separate those two out. And then, of course, sharing. I'm sharing here what I've done, knowing that there's always room for improvements. And I actually want to go and watch some more videos online about how other people have done it. Maybe it was the shape of my cups. Maybe it was the materials I used, the oil, the water, food coloring. If there's anything that would make a difference in making it be a little more bubbly or make it last longer. So I'm curious to see what other people have done. So I can't wait to see what you guys have done. Make sure that you fill out that daily roll call so we can see those pictures down below in our Look and Learn. I know that there's always so much I can learn from you guys, and a lot of that honestly comes from you guys filling that out and seeing your pictures and your learning. So make sure you do that, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great day.